Beep, 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 beep. Hello, good peeps. How are we doing? Right, today you're going to get dusty and dishevelled Chester. I'm tidying things and trying to make some chickpea bread at the same time. So I'm covered in flour. I can't do anything without making a mess. I'm that kind of individual. How are we doing, good people? March start for the Warrior Teacher Program if you want to come. Links in the YouTube. Yep, they're all down there, right? If not, if you can subscribe, help out, buy me a coffee. That would be really good. Right, okay? So there's so much going on again. I keep saying this, but it feels like the beginning of 2024 has gone off like a jumbo jet. Does it not feel like that to you? Like there's so much going on, there's so much happening. W-Path, yeah, do a bit about them later. I think we'll have to have a look at a read of what's going on. But it looks like they've lost 2/3 of their members and they're on the way out. Oi, Bowers, you horrible bloke. How you doing? Right. So W-Path, but that's not the interesting one. Today I'm interested in one thing because I'm from our James Esses. Right, okay, James, how you doing? Going undercover, the Trans and Non-Binary Education Network tells schools to ignore government guidance. This is quite extraordinary. They are utterly deranged, right? If you don't subscribe to James' Substack, by the way, do, because he's giving them all away free now. You'd be a fool not to. Right up there with Malcolm. Get following. And me. January 2024, says James, and it was time for me to go undercover again. I love it. He's like Secret Squirrel. Going to investigate the nutters. The Trans and Non-Binary Education Network, in collaboration with a group called Schools Out, were hosting an event called DFE Draft Guidance on Gender Questioning Children. Gender questioning is in speech marks, because they'll change names in order to not avoid using the actual term, which is child indoctrination and child mutilating and medicalising. That's what it really is, right? The event was aimed at teachers and educational professors and was focused on the recently released draft schools guidance by the Department for Education. You'll remember this because I covered it at the time. Posing as an educator called Rich Malone, I signed up to the virtual event, keen to see what evidence and guidance would be provided during the webinar. Sarcastic bugger. From the moment the event started, I could sense what direction the discussion would be heading. Every single speaker had pronouns after their names. It's like, red alert, warning, that klaxon thing that you get, you know? The first speaker, every single speaker had pronouns after their name, and most were wearing some variation of a pride badge. The first speaker of the day was Katie, they, them, a former maths teacher who is currently working towards a PhD in education. Within minutes of the session starting, Katie informed us that the term trans includes children who are gender non-conforming. So now they've widened the brolly more to get them involved. So this was shocking. The thought that a boy or girl who simply does not conform to old-fashioned and progressive stereotypes could be labelled as trans by their teacher is a truly terrifying image. Immediately, I popped a question into the Q&A box, asking for clarification on whether any gender non-conforming child was deemed to be trans. The answer simply came back, not necessarily. Hardly reassuring. The scaremongering soon began. Katie informed attendees that the government had introduced this draft guidance in an attempt to erase the identities of the trans. It's a genocide! Katie, you loon, right? What was meant to be a network of educational professors began to sound more like a cult meeting. We know it's a cult, right? It's more like a cult meeting. They're doing an Indiana Jones. Mularam Shakti trans. Its eyes! What have you done to its eyes? If you know, you know, right? Next up was Matthew. Save him! A secondary school teacher. Oh, he's got access to kids. A secondary school teacher who worryingly specialises in working with children with special educational needs. He's got access to SEN kids. Matthew told the teachers in the audience that when the final guidance is released, there will be a lot of reasons not to follow it, and it is unclear whether it is binding. Strange and not very good choice of words there, Matthew, brackets. They, them, brackets. Right? Clear as day, schools were being encouraged to deviate from official government guidance. They're going to have to legislate this lot out of existence, aren't they? We've got no choice. We've got no choice. That and the parents. Parents are most important. Get in there. Get screaming, shouting, wailing, gnashing teeth and tearing hair if every normal, polite avenue fails you. Instead of the government guidance, teachers were advised to follow the guidance contained in the Brighton and Hove Trans Inclusion Toolkit. The Brighton and Hove trans inclusion. Can you get the Brighton and Hove trans inclusion toolkit? That's like telling them to listen to the Chairman Mao summer camp for youth. It's the same thing, isn't it? Both of which are essentially lifted straight out of the Stonewall playbook. There they go again. Most worrying of all was when Matthew told attendees that in an ideal world, parents would be involved, but that teachers should never share that a child is trans without that child's permission. So the teachers now deciding, as if they are in any way qualified to do such a thing, whether a child is trans or not, or whether a child is mentally ill, or whether a child is actually at safeguarding risk for some reason that they don't know about, which might be being caused by something at home. This is an absolute abnegation of responsibility by teachers. And they went to see it. They went to listen to these absolute bum gravy producing gusset fumblers. That's what they did. To not include with parents, as James said here, and collude with vulnerable children behind their parents' back flies completely in the face of child safeguarding. Unfortunately, things were only getting started. Next up, aptly named Gray, was a they/them. A former head teacher of a primary school. You don't think this is real? You are so out of touch if you don't think this is real. Gray came out, all guns blazing. The government's guidance was branded transphobic. We were told that it encourages abuse and put children at risk of harm. The only evidence provided by Gray was a claim that 90% of children have considered or tried to, off themselves. You lying swine. Of course, there was no reference provided for this claim because it is false. Once again, we witnessed the weaponising of suicide to try and scare professionals into pledging allegiance to gender ideology. Gray lamented the number of times the government guidance used the term biological sex. It could not be clearer that trans activists are seeking to erase the entire concept of biological reality. Gray finished off by telling attendees that schools should not be doing anything as a result of this guidance, once again encouraging them to ignore it. James reveals more in his excellent rendition of this story of when he attended the Nutters Parade on our behalf in a kind of secret squirrel of the GC world, and brings us that, which has now been picked up, I believe, by the Daily Mail. Good. Parents need to wake up and smell the coffee. There's something terribly wrong. I'm like, I've gone all Magnificent Seven with this lately. I'm like, right, okay, let's just get 7 of us, right? And we go into each school one at a time. And we'll say, right, it's going to cost us £1,000 to go into a school. Crowdfund the £1,000. This is the school. Tell them we're coming on this day. And then we sort of walk in the door in a kind of Reservoir Dogs sort of Quentin Tarantino way, to the sound of Green Bag. And we go, where's the head? And we empty the place. We go and find out who these bastards are, and we drag them out by their hair and their feet. That's my fantasy. At which point we go, thou has been condemned as a witch. String them up by their feet from the nearest telegraph pole, and then get small children to throw bubblegum at them. So, James, brilliant. Thank you so much for doing it. Thank you for taking one for the crowd, which of course there's also Sarah. Don't forget Sarah, the lies they tell. Sarah always takes one for the crowd. Sarah goes to lots of these meetings and also catalogues them. So that, there's people that you can follow that do this particular vein of work, which I think is very important for us to get our heads around. Other than that, I can hear the oven and I can smell the chickpea bread, which has got olives and thyme in it. And when it's finished, I'm going to butter it and serve it with brie and a glass of port. Because I'm in that kind of mood. It's supposed to be my day off. Not a chance. 74 messages already this morning. It's insane. So, come and be a warrior teacher. It's going to be a good start in March. We're off and running in the first quarter. Okay, so see you later. Have fun. That's it. All in the Dubris. Go read it.